Imagine discovering a memory card. Inside it, dozens of video files. At first, they look ordinary, a man talking to the camera, walking through empty streets, filming random places at night, but as investigators kept watching, something horrifying appeared. The man behind the camera wasn't documenting his life, he was documenting his crimes. And what they were about to uncover would expose one of the most disturbing criminal cases in recent history. Because this killer didn't just commit murder, he recorded everything, every step, every plan, every victim, and he thought the videos would never be found. This is the story of the killer who filmed his own crimes. It began with a missing person case. On a cold evening in October, 27-year-old Daniel Harper left work and never returned home. Daniel was known as a quiet and responsible person. He worked late most nights and rarely changed his routine, but that night, something went terribly wrong. When his girlfriend reported him missing, police initially believed it might be a simple disappearance. Maybe he left town, maybe his phone died, maybe he needed time alone, but within 48 hours, investigators realized something was seriously wrong. Daniel's car was discovered in a parking lot just a few blocks from his office. The doors were locked, his wallet was still inside, so was his phone, but Daniel himself was gone. When detectives searched the vehicle, they expected to find nothing, but inside the glove compartment they discovered something strange, a small black USB drive. At first, investigators assumed it belonged to Daniel, maybe work files, maybe personal videos, but when they plugged it into a computer, they found dozens of video recordings. Each file had a strange title, numbers, dates, coordinates, and the videos themselves were disturbing. They showed a man holding a camera, walking through quiet neighborhoods late at night, whispering to himself, sometimes laughing softly, sometimes talking about the next one. Investigators quickly realized something chilling. The man behind the camera was not Daniel. As detectives continued watching the files, a horrifying pattern began to appear. The videos weren't random. They were recordings of someone planning crimes. The man would walk around different locations, studying buildings, watching people, timing how long it took for someone to walk home alone. He would describe everything to the camera, security cameras, streetlights, escape routes. Almost like he was creating a guidebook for murder, but the most disturbing videos were saved in a separate folder. The folder was titled "Completed." Inside were several recordings, and investigators were about to witness something they would never forget. One of the videos began in complete darkness, only the sound of breathing could be heard. Then the camera slowly adjusted. The man was sitting in a parked car. Across the street, a person was walking alone. The man whispered to the camera, "That's the one." He stepped out of the car. The camera kept recording. Investigators watched as the man followed the victim down the street. The video ended suddenly. But detectives already understood what likely happened next, and the timestamp on the video matched the date of another unsolved disappearance. Suddenly, this wasn't just a missing person case anymore, it was potentially a serial killer investigation. Detectives focused on identifying the man in the recordings. But the killer had been careful. His face never appeared on camera. However, investigators noticed something important. In one video, the camera briefly reflected in a store window, and for just a fraction of a second, part of the man's face became visible. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Using image enhancement software, investigators created a partial facial reconstruction. Then they compared it with local databases, and within hours, they had a match. The man's name was Ethan Cole, and what they discovered about him was deeply disturbing. To neighbors, Ethan Cole seemed completely normal. He worked as a freelance video editor. He rarely caused problems. He kept to himself, but investigators soon discovered something dark. Ethan was obsessed with filming everything. He owned multiple cameras, hard drives, memory cards. His entire apartment was filled with recording equipment. It seemed like his life revolved around documenting reality. But what no one realized was that he had turned murder into a personal film project. Once detectives identified Ethan, they immediately obtained a search warrant. Police surrounded his apartment early in the morning. When officers knocked on the door, Ethan answered calmly, almost too calmly. He didn't run, he didn't panic. Instead, he asked one question, "Did you watch the videos?" Inside the apartment, investigators found something horrifying: more cameras, more memory cards, and dozens of hours of recordings. Some were labeled with dates, others were labeled with names that matched missing persons reports. The evidence was overwhelming. Ethan Cole was arrested immediately. During interrogation, Ethan eventually confessed, but his explanation shocked investigators. He didn't say he killed for money or revenge or anger. Instead, he said something chilling: "I wanted to document the perfect crime." To Ethan, the murders were not just acts of violence, they were experiments, projects, stories he was creating through video. He believed that by recording everything, he could analyze his mistakes, improve his methods, and become perfect. When the case went to trial, the prosecution presented the videos as evidence. Jurors watched clips from Ethan's recordings, planning, stalking, following victims. The courtroom was silent. Some jurors reportedly couldn't even finish watching the footage. The videos were described as some of the most disturbing evidence ever presented in that court. In the end, the jury needed less than 2 hours to reach a verdict. Ethan Cole was found guilty on multiple counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Today, the case still shocks investigators, not just because of the crimes, but because of the videos. Ethan documented everything, but the one thing he never documented was his biggest mistake, leaving that USB drive behind, a single piece of evidence, one small oversight, and it exposed the entire truth. Because sometimes, the most dangerous criminals believe they are too smart to get caught until their own recordings become the evidence that destroys them. And in this case, the killer who filmed everything ended up filming the proof that sent him to prison forever.